Waji Khalsa, Waji Fateh. Welcome to another session. Khoj Gurbani, Ravinder Singh here, joining you from Columbus. We are beginning a new session, a new round of discussions. And the idea, based on feedback from all of you, is that we will focus on some better known or popular shabads from Gurbani and try to unpeel the deeper layers of these popular shabads. Today, we are going to look at quite a popular one that I think all of us hear off and on. It is Gujri Mala Panjwa, and the Rahautuk is Puta Mata Ki Asis, Nimakna Bisro Tumko Har Har Sada Bajo Jagdish. So I think we want to sort of get past the popular meaning of this Shabad to its metaphorical and perhaps inner meaning. So I believe Veer Gurjeet Singh Ji has expressed a desire to uh, to explain. So it's on to you, AG. It's all yours.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ I think we should start as normally it's a Shabad, so let's start with the Rahau first. Puta Mata Ki Asis Nimak na Bisro Tumko Hari Hari Sada Bhajo Jagdish. So as per Gurmat, what is a Put and what is a Mata? So Poot is nothing but, as we say in Japji, Tin Chele Parvan. We are all the Poots of Sachkhand at the end. And our bigger consciousness is Ekamai, the Hukum. So that bigger Mata or Jagmat is trying to give us an instruction. Asis is generally instruction. As in Gurmat, we take it as instruction, advice. So because the Sachkhand can't speak direct, it has to speak through a Satguru to us. And the Satguru is telling us that we as Jeeves has been advised directly from Sachkhand. That is our bigger Mata. And what is the advice? To every Jeev on this earth, Nimak na besro tumko har har. There is an element, inner consciousness in all of us. We have an outer consciousness and an inner consciousness. I think we discussed this quite a lot in Asakivar. The outer consciousness has to do this action, the man, which will come in the later stage of the Shabad, that even for a minute of a time, I shouldn't be away from this. It's a remembrance. It's nothing to do with repeating. It's something is in my, I was told a week ago we have to do this. It was in my Simrati anyway. That's why I opted for it. So Simran is something which you are not doing it by repeating a word, but it has gone into your inner consciousness that I have to do it. So this is the whole aim of the Jeev here. But here he has particularly used the word Hari twice. We say Har, doesn't matter. One Har is my own Har, the my inner consciousness, and the other is the macro consciousness to her. I've tested this a lot of times, that these, when it repeats twice, means my own her, मैं अपना गुरु पूछ दे क्या, my inner consciousness, and also the bigger consciousness who is controlling the whole system. So he says we have to remember this. When you remember your own, because the inner one is attached to the outer one, you are covered for both. So when we now start with the first stanza, जिस सिमरत सब किलविक नासें पितरी होए उदारू. So it is some personality. If we remember that, if we keep it in our mind, if we walk under its instructions, we lose our kilbik. Bik is nothing but poison. Kill are those pains or those problems caused by our attachment to those elements in Maya. So Kilvik as such, I will say, is nothing but our inner problems, whatever are associated with our day-to-day life, that we're attached to Maya. If we don't get it, we just get sad. If we get too much, we get too much overjoyed. So all these things are acting as Kilviks. But when we are in attachment with that, they all should vanish. Pitri hoy udaru. So the word Pitri in Gurmat means my father, my elder. Here it is certainly my inner consciousness, although the word in Asa Kibar we have done this as a shalok, Pitri Chor Kare. But to other non-Vedic maths, they think it is the father or father's father or whatever, the old ancestors. But here in this one particularly, we'll take it as my inner consciousness. That if I want that inner consciousness as a whole unit should go back to its original state, to Sachkhand, this has to be done by the outer consciousness to become Puran Ram. Then he repeats, so har har. He again puts the same rhyme. Tum sadhi japo. Jaka antana paro. This japana is at the first stage. Once we are doing the jap, the stronger is our jap, the more is our knowledge, the more stronger will be the simran. It will get into our consciousness as something which will not come out then. The thing is, japana is to understand, and I say simrana at that stage is whatever we have understood out of this. And then that carries on with us for the whole life, our understanding. Jakantana Paro he has to write because the Hari has been made, I think, as an idol in other religions. They worship, they call Ram as a Hari, also call Krishna as a Hari. But our Hari is Antana Paro, it's not visible. He's beyond my five senses. So it is my inner consciousness. Then we take, there's also a word, Sadapa Jo Jagdish. Also, I want to concentrate on this one. There are two aspects of Hari, as we have already told, my inner Hari and my outer Hari. Jagat plus Ish is what Jagdish is. Firstly, there's a word Jag. Then from Jag, the word becomes Jagat. And from Jagat becomes Jagatish. Jag are four elements. The Jyot makes it Jagat. Khele Sagal Jagat. And then Jagdish is my inner consciousness, the Ish of Jagat. In Jap Sahib, Dasm Pasha says him, Jagteveshwar hai, Parameshwar hai. The Jyot is either in two khands. Either it is in Bhav Sagar as Jagteshwar, and when it is in Sachkhand, it is a Parameshwar. And that word will come in the next stanza. Satgur tumko hoye dayala, Sant sang teri preet, Kapad pat Parameshwar rakhi bhojan kirtan neet. Satgur is the advice written in Gurbani to us at this stage. It is always passionate on you because that's why it has been given. Nothing is hidden from us. He is already Dayal. I'm lagging my side now. The doors are open. I have to get up and get into the door. Sant Sang Teri Preet. Through Gurbani, my Sant is also my inner consciousness. I have to keep a regular love, attachment with him. And I have to walk under his instruction. So Satgur comes as a Gurbani instruction. It's already there, but it doesn't speak for itself. We have to go and, get the idea what Gurbani says. Then he says there's a now next stage. Once you have a attachment to your Sant, then Parmeshwar will do an action because Parmeshwar is the macro consciousness, Kapad Pat, my body, my June is Kapad Pat. He will honor this June. Parmeshwar will do it by giving it a naam. But for that, I have to constantly do this Bhojan Kirtan Neet. The Kirtan is not to be done with instruments because you can't do it 24 hours. It is to be done at the internal level, a constant which are between outer and inner consciousness. Then he says, Amrit Pivo Sadachir Jivo Harisimrat Anant Ananta. What is Amrit Pina? The best example to us has been given by Tisre Pasha. He says in Anand Bani, Har ras pivo amrit sada raho hari rang japyo sarang pani. This is the way we have to do the amrit, as third Pasha says, that it is always to be in attachment with our mool. Pivo amrit, and as a part of metaphor, you need to join two hands. Like we eat the prasad, we also drink the water. If you want to drink it, using your hand, they both have to be cupped together. So that is a sort of metaphor. I think it is being used here. Pivo amrit, amrit pivo sadachir jivo. This life here is not a chill life. This life is a sleeping life. We are all in a state of Narpatek Singhasan Soya. If you want to read that Sadachir, you have to wake up. The wake up is only done, as the third Pasha has explained us, Pivo Amr Sadaro Harrang, Japyo Sarang Pani. Then he says, Hari Simrat Anandananta. Through the Simran, you should reach a stage of Anand Ananta, which is Mahanand or Parmanand. It's also explained in Gurbani. From Ananda, there is another stage. Then Rang Tamasa, Purna Asa, Kabena Vyapa Chinta. There's a lot of Rang Tamasha going around us. Someone is coming, dying, all things are happening around us. But within that, you have to do the Puranasa. You only have one as. That is Chittaki Asa. Purana Hoy Chittaki Asa is to get associated with my inner consciousness. Kabena Vyapa Chinta. Chinta is directly related to Home. When you become unified or sabat, then your chinta and everything goes off. Then, in the last stanza, he says, Power tumara eman hovo har charna ho kola. He's taken another fantastic metaphor. Like the power is your man. See, the power goes to the kamal or a flower. The flower doesn't come to power. The power is in the trikuti, our man. It has to travel into the hirda. Ehman hovo har charna. The musk or kasturi is within us. As we say, there is a kasturi within a deer. That kasturi is my hari, my own self, which has all the fragrance of all the virtues. Har charna ho kolla means it's like given an example of, you can say, Kamal. Nanak Das. Nanak says, all the Dases, as per Gurmat, un sang lapatayo. They have always been one, or they have merged into the Hari. In what way? And they are, then he gives another example, Ju Bunda, Chatrik, Molla. Chatrik we have considered is a sort of bird, which is nothing of wisdom, who is looking for this Swanti Boond, which is nothing but Gurmat. And then once it gets it, it's satisfied, its thirst is quenched, and he's in a state of ever blissfulness. So that was my understanding of the Shabad. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Hanji, thank you, Virji, for that explanation. I want to just turn it over to the panel for any questions. So, Chetanji, let's start with you.
Actually, I'm still trying to understand or make sense of like the whole message coming together. Like Vijay explained lines and words, but what is being said in the whole Shabad? What is the message? Like from what I understood from Vijay's explanation is the Sachkhand is giving an instruction to all the jeeves on this earth, right? But if I understand it that way, then why are we not taking that instruction from Sachkhand? Why it is not happening? Like there seems to be some confusion going on in my head.
Hanji, Virji. Gurjit, Virji, are you there?
Hanji Veer ji.
Chetanji just posed a question for you.
Hanji Veer ji, the problem is that apan hathi apna ape hi kaaj savari hai. Sachkhand has opened the gates and provided all the resources, but it's now my part, what I have to do. If I'm not attaching myself, it is coming under my fault, not under the fault of Satguru. Satguru is already Dayal. I'm not waking up, I'm still in a sleeping mode. So I have to take the curtains off. The sun is already there. I think that's what
So,
my answer
so
is.
Virji, that's precisely Chetandeep's question. Why are we not taking the curtain off?
It's because we don't want to. It's our wish. We have not yet understood the Gurbani at that level that for us, something else is more precious than this advice at this stage.
Chetandeep, does that make sense to you?
Virji, I'm still trying to make the sense of the whole Shabad. Is it just like this whole Shabad as is? Is it an instruction from Sachkhand? And if so, then
Can you speak up? You're cutting off a little.
okay, I'm sorry. There I hear some background noise. If we can mute.
It
Haji, could
might be
you,
from my end
Haji, could you
because
mute
it's.
and just give Chetandeep a chance to articulate what he wants to?
Thank you, Virji. I mean, I heard that, and I'm still trying to make a sense of like, what is this Shabad all about? Is it like this whole Shabad, as the Panktiyas of the Shabad are these as is an instruction from Sachkhand? Then, if so, then what is Sachkhand? Right? Is it a physical space? Is it a mental space? Or is it a state of mind? Like, what exactly like is happening here in this Shabad?
So Chetandeep, so I take it that Gurjeet Singh Virji answered your first question, right? You said, why aren't we taking the advice? His response was, well, because you don't want to. Um, now you're asking a somewhat different question. Is that right?
Uh, I'm sorry. When I started
You
my
said, why aren't we taking this
no, I
advice?
think that was the second part. The first was I was still trying to understand the message of the Shabad. That's what I mentioned earlier, that I understand he did line by line, but what is happening in this Shabad is I still fail to understand that.
Haji Virji, do you want to shed some light on what's going on?
Anyway, how I explained it because it was more important. Puta Mata Ki Asis. Nimkhna Bisro tumko arhar. This is the advice. This is the Sikhya in whole of Gurbani, not in this Shabad, that we have to be in association with our inner consciousness, the Hari. So I don't know where the confusion is. This is the main message from how we started. And then he's elaborating how to associate yourself with that. The whole Shabbat then concentrate on how to associate yourself. And then there is another consciousness coming a word as Parmeshwar, who is actually all in all, who will do the final kirpa when I have done my own job, which I think we have in the last body. We elaborated it quite a lot on the last one, Apas te jo paiye Nanak Sakarmat. But to become one is first our job as chelas or as a to be like a good son is one who is within the instructions of his parents. So we have to become a good kid. We are slightly naughty kids. We have to come into that sort of arena. Then the further actions will take place automatically.
Haji Gurjeet Singh Virji, he also had a related question on Sachkhand. You said the instruction is coming from Sachkhand. So what is Sachkhand? Is it a physical space? I'm just trying to capture what Chetandeep said. Uh, can you shed light on that as well for him?
Yeah, it's the five stages which has been described in Japaji. That from we started from the Taramkhand, and then as we are getting closer and closer to our mool, we are changing those stages. We are stepping up, and ultimately become a full consciousness. So it's nothing but it's same thing like a doctor who is fully qualified and another doctor who is sick. We are at the same stage of Sachkhand, but we are slightly in Param. If we break our Param, we are in the same stage as they. But until you break your Param, you are not what you call Sarvavyapi. What is Sarvavyapi? Is it omnipresent? Omnipresent?
Yes.
See, I'm bonded. I can't do whatever I like to, but such can do it. So they are in power. I'm a part of that consciousness, but I'm slightly sick and I'm getting cured here. When I get cured, I'll still be in the same stage as they are. They are Puran Brahms. I'm just a Brahm.
So,
I'm trying my heart. Yeah,
Sorry, is it safe to say then that Sachkhand is a state of mind, a state of being?
it's a state of being. Yes, it's a nothing, but we call it Par Brahm. All of them have a word Brahm in it. Brahm, then Purna Brahm and Par Brahm. This is just a third stage in which you are the king, you are the ruler. At this stage, I'm under the instruction, then you become a king, and then you issue instructions.
And
So that's
ठीक
just
है जी.
a
does that take
Okay.
within this?
Chetandeep, I have to move on. Maybe you can come back in the second round. Uh, Dilpreet Singh ji.
Hanji Virji. So I think very good discussion we are having, and Gurjeet Virji has explained Mata as Hukam, and then he has explained Pitri as inner consciousness and Satgur as the advice, which is a nice approach. And there is another way to look at this Shabad is, so I will try to share that. So when I was looking at this Puta Mata Ki Asis, the word Puta, I was looking that there is one, a Pindi Putter we call in Gurbani, or the biological offspring. Jaise Mat Pita bin Bal na hoye. So there are many examples of those. And then there is a Shabdi Putter, a offspring, a following who follows the message of Shabad, who is Guru's offspring, or who is the Putter of the Guru. Because Ham Barak Tumre Tare, there are many Shabads. कोई पूत सिख सेव करे सतगुर की, and जम्मे पूत भगत गोबिंद का. So there is a concept of this biological offsprings also. So I was looking at this, the put means that we are the biological offsprings or born out of shabas, that our thought process and actions have been changed based on the shabad and the teachings of the guru. So we being the sons and daughters, we are the spiritual offspring. So and then shabad, and then there is another concept, right, that a biological son is born out of parents, and this shabad putter is born out of the shabad. So we are born out of shabad. So I am taking mata as this shabad, or the teachings of the Guru Granth Sahib, or this teachings is our mata. And then if we take it in that context also, and then what is the Shabbat's blessing for us, or what Shabbat wishes us to be? It is wishing us that we should be free, and then that is the wish the Shabbat is having, or Shabbat wants us to be. So that was the other thing. And then this
Is that a
concept of
question?
no.
Yeah.
I am taking this Puta is that we are the offsprings of the Shabad, and our Mata is the Shabad. And then if you follow that context, that jis simrit sab kilvik nase pitri hoy udaro. So that okay, if we follow the teachings of Guru Granth Sahib or the Shabad, then our obstacles or kilviks, as Virji explained, will go away. Then pitri hoy udaro. So pitri is the concept of our ancestors. So the way, another way to just look at this is that pitri hoy udaro is that if we are offsprings of Shabad, and Shabad is our Mata, and then who is our Pitris, who are our ancestors? In that connection, if you see, then ancestors are our Gurus, Bhagats, and all the Gursikhs before us who became the Putter of Shabad and who have followed the Shabad. So Pitri Hoy Udharo, that they also were benefited out of this. So there is just another way to look at this. So that is what I wanted to point out again, that we are the offsprings of Shabad, and Shabad is our Mata. And then Pitri Hoy Udharo is again, then our ancestors also got benefited, or they have got out of this kilviks because of they were the putters of the Shabad, they follows the Shabad, and so it is an inspiration for us. So just another way to look at the same thing. Thank you.
Hanji, thank you. Ekunkar ji, what's your take?
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm going to give you a little history of the Shabad. So this is a very precious Shabad in our community, the 3HO yoga community. And I was blessed to do a translation of it. So the history of this Shabad actually is that during the time when Guru Ram Das sent Arjun to Lahore, sent him away, and that period of time eventually provoked Arjun to write the Shabad Hazare letters that sort of proved his worth and his consciousness to become the fifth Guru, Guru Arjan Dev Ji. Bibi Bani sent him off to Lahore with a prayer. And this is that prayer, or this is Guru Arjan's memory and kind of encoding of it in the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib. So, you know, when we talk about things like there are no women authors in the Guru, you know, it's partly because we don't remember our own history. And this Shabad is what is taken from the words that Bibi Bani spoke to Arjan Dev Ji before he left for Lahore. And this Shabad is basically about the power of a mother's prayer to pray for her son, to pray for her children, to become conscious spiritual beings. And in the yoga community, we have a special celebration when a woman becomes pregnant. And, you know, around the 120th day, the Sanghat gets together, and this is one of the Shabads that's sung. Because there's a lot in Gurbani that is trying to awaken women to the power we have to affect the consciousness of the men in our lives and the children in our lives. There's another one of my pet peeves is the way that things get translated as soul bride and husband lord when the original was just wife and husband, and that there are ways that these things work just in a practical relationship style. Not that there's not a metaphysical analogy you can use, but what I'm frustrated with is the way the metaphysical analogy is replacing and ignoring actually the more practical, grounded reality of this Shabad. So I'm going to read the translation that I've done of this Shabad, and then I'm going to step back from, you know, just listen to others. Those who practice Simran, who create a dialogue between their souls and their personalities, destroy the record of their mistakes and liberate their ancestors. So always chant Hud Hud and call upon the divine essence that has no limits. Oh, my children, this is your mother's blessing upon you. May you never forget the divine essence in your own heartbeat for even a moment, and may you always adore the master of creation. Pay attention. May the sound of wisdom that guides you to truth become compassionate to you, and may the community of disciplined spiritual people become your love. May the supreme divine husband protect the cloak of your body, and may singing sacred songs become your food. May you forever drink the nectar that awakens you to your own immortal nature, and may you live a long life relating to the divine essence in endless delight. Within the vivid colors of this show, may your hopes and wishes get completed, and may you never feel anxious. Let your mind become the black bee, and let the feet of the divine be the lotus flower. Servant Nanak can't help but embrace the company of such people, just like the cuckoo lives and flourishes with the rain. And I see in this Bani the way, the highest consciousness that a mother can relate to her child, to always be praying for these gifts to come into the child's life. Thank you for allowing me to share my heart with you tonight.
Thank you, Ekunkarji. I see that you're somewhat disturbed by the and frustrated, but I think that I'm not at all sure how to address that. So I will do that in the following way, and I'm going to pass it on to the others. I was actually asked by Harvinder to do a basic exposition on this, and then Aviji Gurjeet Singh wanted to do it, so I was okay with that. I mean, it's, you know, we all can share this. But I'm looking at a few scribbles that I made because I didn't get much of an opportunity to really dwell on this Shabad, you know, just to capture my thoughts. But I see what you're saying, and I see what Virji Gurjeet Singh is saying. As a matter of fact, the very first scribble I have here on my paper, and I'll read it out, is that this can be viewed in two ways. One as a mother's prayer for her child, a blessing. And we all know the legend of Bibi Pani. I'm reading my scribble here. And the mother's consciousness is basically consciousness for the child. And the quality of that consciousness will reflect itself in the child. Now, I also have a bit of a skeptic in me, and that is, we do not really have any kind of solid evidence about Bibi Pani being the one who composed this, or even the Shabad Hazare letters. That is just popular belief. So as a skeptical historian, a part of me says that we do not know really. We believe it to be true, and it's okay to believe it to be true. So the second way that I looked at it was that this is obviously a metaphor for the inner self, because I find it hard to believe that the Mata here would be the external Mata, or the Pitri would be our dead ancestors. It has to mean something. It is a metaphor for something else, and that is the explanation that Veer Gurjeet Singh Ji has actually given us. So I personally have no issues with either one of these. I think they're both equally valid, and other people might have just their own take on it. So with that said, let me just carry this discussion forward. Gurdeep Singh Veer Ji.
Anji, Sat Sri Akal Ji. Did you hear me?
Hanji, Hanji.
Okay. So you want my opinion on this?
We want your views, your opinion, everything.
Okay, I think it works both ways. As Arjun said, she's fine. As Gurjeet Vidi said, he's fine too. Because as last time we discussed, there are two mandal. One is Triguni Maiki Mandal. The one is spiritual mandal. Atmik mandal, we call it in Punjabi. So it's a game. We start from the Triguni Maiki Mandal to the Atmik Mandal. Triguni Maiki Mandal to the Atmik Mandal. They're not those tapus, they're not planets outside, they're within the body. So what Gurjeet Vidi said, he's talking about the game in the Atmik Mandal. But we are discussing, or it's also applicable to our Triguni Maiki Mandal, which is true. Before this Shabad, if we read when Mata Pandit was, Mata Pandit was expecting Guru Hargobind, there was Shabd given. Mata ke udar mein aayi kiya nivas, dasi masi bar ki janm liya, jamya put bhakt Govind ka. Those are blessing too. Medical science says, whatever the mother thinks when she's pregnant, everything passes on to the baby. Even the baby can hear music outside. It has been all proven fact by the medical science. So it works both the way, starting from the healing. But she says, when we get the blessing, we go to Gurdwara, there's a congregation, Sangat, Puta Mata Ki Asis. That's fine. Even that Asis comes from the real mother, this biological mother from her heart. Even if she never did Simran in her life, but she's instructed, she's told to do the Simran, to do good thinking when she becomes, the day she becomes pregnant. And this continues when the baby is born. Then we go to all our religious places to get the blessing of the Sangat. The voice of the people is the voice of the God. Then we get all the blessing from Guru Granth Sahib. Who's our, Tu Mera Pita, Tu Mera Mata, Tu Mera Bandap, Tu Mera Prata, Tu Mera Rakha, Sabni Thai, Tamp Aukeha, Kada Jio. Biological mother parents are good only here, not every place. So what Gurjeet Vidi said, I buy that 100%, 200%. In reality, we have no mother, no father, no friend, nothing. If we read the Shabad before this, same Gujri Malla Panima, couple of pages before, this all gives instruction. Don't forget, nothing belongs to you, only except her name, his name. His or her in our, no, there's no female or male. It's the same. He is equally, my mere man ko sukh, kot anand rasu pogwa, har page, har simrat bin se sab dukh. We can address as a mother or father, no discrimination, Sikhism, no female or new male, because it's a spirit only. We talk about spirit, and spirit has no definition like that, male or female. So I buy both the thing. in our system where we are in right now, let's say we belong to Tragudi Maiki Mandal. This system works very good. Take the baby to Gurdwara, bless him, do the Shabd Kirtan, everything. But when we get to where the Aitung Mandal, that's the higher stage. Once we are in the high school, is different. Then college is different, university different, then PhD and post-PhD. So these things takes us from down earth to the highest level. So no matter where we can fit our thinking right now, no argument, it works. Thank you very much. This is what I can say.
Anji, thank you, Ji. You make an important point about the fact that the divine is ultimately genderless. I have a quote in front of me that sort of supports what you just said. "Main harbin avar na koi beli, mera pita mata har sikhaya, and harji mata harji pita harji pritapalak." Right? This is a fairly popular. So I think both perspectives are to be appreciated and understood. So let me move on to Kulwant Kaur Panji.
Hello, Hanji. Welcome, Fatihji. I think I also, up until now, I have the same perspective, same view of the Shabad. As Khoj explained that, I always thought that each line of the Shabad carries an amazing blessing of a mother to a child. Like mothers can be a divine guidance. They play a special role in child's upbringing. That's what I was thinking. And like the relationship between mother and a child is without, in this Shabad, specifically in this Shabad, I think is like the relationship is without the trap of Maya. Mother is showing it's not like any ego, a worldly attachment, guiding a child to a divine guidance. But on the other hand, like Gurjeet Virji explained, he has a different perspective. You all have a different perspective. My thought is like when we read Gurbani or Shabad, we all should get just one message from the Gurbani. It's not like we can have different messages. Gurus have always, Gurbani have always one message for everyone. Then how do we all understand? We all have a different perspective. Isn't it has to be one unison message or one unison perspective?
Haji, you make a good point, Panji, but there is a difference between one message and perspective. It's like a perspective is where you're seated, right? I mean, what your coordinates are. I mean, it's like the seven blind men looking at an elephant. I mean, so they all have their perspective, although the elephant is one.
Yeah, I got that. Yes, exactly. You're right.
The message is obviously one. The message is not different for different people. It's the same message, but I think we all look at it through our own filters. So, and I'm quite, as far as I'm concerned, we are all sort of on the process and on the path. So, yeah. So
yeah, okay. I got that. We have all different perspective. But what is the message, as like Chetandeep was also trying to squeeze it? What is the message of this Shabad? One unison message that we should take on from this.
My recommendation would be to try and mull over it and try and come to some sort of a conclusion in your mind, because whatever I tell you or anybody else tells you is just my perspective or somebody else's perspective. So something might appeal to you, something may not appeal to you, but it's still another's perspective.
Right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ruchi.
Haji Ranadev.
Hanji, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh Ji. Can you hear me?
Hanji.
Yes, there are very good points made on both sides of the perspective. One given by Gurjeet Virji, and we mulled over that, and then we got from Ikikarji another one. Uh, As I said earlier too, I think we try to intellectualize these things so much, and I wonder is the masses. That's why the masses are losing it, because the meaning, the true meaning, what we are trying to promote, try to discuss or present, is beyond the reach of common people. Uh, I'm not sure whether the real message out there, or the messages as Gyani Harbansh Singh or other literary people have done it. So I'm little uh, not sure about which way to go. But here are a few questions which came to my mind. If Mata is our state of Sachkhand, is there any state for Pita too, or is they same? Okay, that's one thing I just needed to get clarification. If Mata is a state of Sachkhand, which we have not gotten to, then how did or how do the instructions of Ashish ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਇੱਥੇ, how does that instruction is coming to us when we have not elevated ourselves to that state? Is the Sachkhand of my state is same as your state of Sachkhand, or your state of Sachkhand is different from my state of Sachkhand? Or is it same one Sachkhand? Then the other question comes, we talk about inner consciousness and outer consciousness. What's the difference between inner consciousness and outer consciousness, and why they are different? So these are some of the questions which are coming up when we go out from the simple meaning, which is given by many people, and we try to put intellectual lenses over there, and the meaning gets so far away that common people for which the Gurbani is written, it's not like Shastras, because that was the same issue with Shastras at the time. People couldn't understand it. So Guru Sahib wanted to give a very simple message, and we call it as universal message all the time. How could this be a universal when nobody can understand it? So these are my comments on some questions.
You raise, I laugh not at you, but I'm so one with you, because I think, this whole business of intellectualization, maybe we fancy ourselves too smart. But anyway, let me take your questions over to Veer Gurjeet Singh, since he's the presenter, and then I can also touch on Ekunkarji later. But Veer Gurjeet Singh ji, Ranaveer ji has a couple of questions aimed at you, obviously. If Mata is the state of Sachkhand, what about Pita? And is the state of Sachkhand different in different people? And what is inner consciousness versus outer consciousness? What's the difference?
Hanji Virji, I think you explained it in two shabads. Tu mera pita, tu hai mera mata. We have already discussed that he's not gender based.
Hanji, but the question is aimed at you.
Yeah, so I think why Rana Virji asked this, he knows this, that,
I don't know.
that Mata Pita are different in this living physical world. They are two, but in spiritual world, they are only one. So he's the same personality as Mata and Pita. But I will say just one thing. When we say, Apan Hathi, Apan Ape hi kaas sawariye, you think Nanak didn't like that Sri Chand should accept his advice? When we come to fifth Patsha, there are so many questions will be raised that because Guru Arjan is the youngest son, physical son. What about the other two? When Mata Pani was pregnant, was she thinking about something else, that these two people never even listened to their father as a fatherly figure? Leave him as a guru. They didn't even obeyed his fatherly normal orders. So if we start doing all these stories, we'll be so badly trapped. The whole blame will come on Mata Pani, that when she was pregnant with the first two child, she was thinking something else. I don't think so there's any difference when she was pregnant. We all have our own journeys to travel. This is what Guru has told us, that it's not that if you are born to Guru Arjun's Guru Ramdas family, that you will get a straight pass through. You have to do the same action which all Pagas have done, which I think we have discussed. So this is the first part. Ranavirji, Mata Pita are same in the spiritual world. In physical world, we have two, which you say Mata Pita bin Bal na hoi. So what is the second one, Paji?
The is the state of Sachkhand in different people different, or is it the same Sachkhand?
It is universal. When you have left with no param, when you are fully enlightened, you are in Sachkhand. At this stage, we are approaching that stage, but we are not in the Sachkhand. We are still in the param. We are in the what you call the kat. We are talking from cuts. We are all basically sleeping. Might be a difference of one is 1,000, one is 999. There's not much difference between us. We are basically on the sleeping scale. We are not even in the awakening stage yet. I think so. But yes, Sachkhand is fully awakened stage.
So, Vidya, I also want you to address some of Ekunkarji's concerns. She feels, perhaps rightly, that we are ignoring the feminine principle. After all, most of Bani is written from a feminine perspective. I mean, we can't ignore that. And that we shouldn't just use the feminine principle as a figure of speech, but that it should imbue that whole feminine principle of receptivity and other qualities should in fact pervade our lives as Sikhs. So, how would you respond to what she said?
So I'm grateful that she is honest about it, that what she has felt. See, all these stories have come from the Sampada people. They have been giving us these stories so to make life easy. I don't say that it was wrong, but what happened at some stage, those things were to be left and we were to come into the non physical world. So everything, whatever we are doing, is physical, is not spiritual then. So if she says Mata Pani has done that, but when we say Apan Hathi Apna Apai Ka Swarye, and we also say Bin Satgur Kine Napaya, the advice is coming from Satgur. Even if Mata Pani is speaking, it's the Satgur speaking in her. We don't Mata Pani, we don't in the conscious world, we don't say she's a woman. We say she's a Jeev. And if she's advising, who's advising? Satguru is advising always positive things. The Manmukh is doing a wrong thing, but a Gurmukh is doing. So why don't we call her a Gurmukh? Why we are attaching herself to a physical motherhood? We can say at once Satguru within her is advising. And Satguru is attached to Satguru. So it means ultimately it is the Satguru which is advising through Satguru. So I have no hassle to say it like that.
Okay, thank you, Ji. Ekunkar Ji, we want to start the second round, but I want to give you a chance to respond to what was just said.
Well, I very much appreciate that the honesty is appreciated. So let me start there. I'm grateful for that, and it's very helpful to hear this conversation to understand the different perspectives. I'll just offer a few observations, and I think that this could be a whole month of talk, to be honest with you. But the first is that the gurus were really aware of the way that women were not respected in the culture that they were born into and considered less than a cow or something like that. And so there is a way that I think Gurbani is challenging gender issues very provocatively, that not only are women like I personally think there are passages of Gurbani that are really basically for women, not even necessarily for men unless you go to these super big metaphors. But there's just a moment where this prayer is a woman's prayer for her children, and maybe it can be okay that there's places in Gurbani that are specific to women. That's kind of one issue I'd love to explore further one day. But it was very much about just shattering that negative view of a woman and what what she's all about. I would have loved if this conversation had been about the importance of the consciousness of a woman giving birth, the importance of the future of the panth being decided in the vibration that a woman has when she projects onto her child. I would have loved to hear that.
I think Veer Gurdeep Singh Ji did touch on that, and I touched very briefly on
yeah,
that.
very, very briefly. I understand that very briefly.
Yeah. I mean, we are bounded by time here,
Right.
but that is definitely a way to go.
And the other part is that I think we also have to look at these figures in as people who are developing in a psycho-spiritual paradigm. So yes, Bibi Bani could very well have had a certain immaturity about her with her first child, and that it took her consciousness ripening to a certain point before the soul of the next guru could come through her. And I think these are all really important questions, because to me, the gurus were not about the other world. The gurus were about this world. God's in us. We can create heaven here if we just shift our consciousness. And these are some of the fundamental questions around how do we create happy, peaceful society here now, and take these teachings as for the common people and universal. So there's a lot I would deconstruct with things I heard. The idea that the simple explanation is the mother's prayer, but then there's this PhD explanation that's metaphysical. Just
Well, these are perspectives, right? And
they're
so,
perspectives, but there's a sexism underneath it, and
I
would
may
invite.
not go as far as that. I don't think.
I know.
I would stop short of that.
But I would ask you all to look.
I would
look
humbly
at that.
beg to differ with you. I don't
Okay.
think. Yeah. And no,
Okay.
seriously. But thanks for the very brutal and honest feedback. It also may be a symptom of the times, that we are going through. But we are running out of time, and I want to give the others a chance to weigh in as well. Chetandeep, last thoughts?
Actually, a lot of thoughts and perspectives coming to head. I mean, I think I've heard both sides, and to be, again, if honesty is the theme of today, I'm skeptic of both the explanations up to some extent. And if I heard either you or Ikankarji saying, I don't know if I heard correctly, but if I heard that this Shabad is the work of Bibi Pani, then I think we are gravely mistaken.
I don't think that was said.
Okay, then it's my mistake, because this is Mahalla Panjma. And then I'm not sure
nobody said that.
And then I'm not sure then what Bibi Pani's role in this Shabad. But anyways, that's okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to say. I mean, I think while looking at Gurbani, we need to be aware of at least the basic principles of Gurbani. It is not gender specific. It is not religion/scripture specific. For example, here Mata could very well mean, when we read the Shabad, Mata Mat Pita Santok. So the Mat that is inside us is giving the Asis to our Man, which is the Puta, right? It's not gender specific. It is not scripture specific. As Gurjeet Singh Virji said, Satgur is a written instruction as in Gurbani, but then that makes the Shabad as scripture specific, and it is not. It is applicable to all of humanity at the same time. So that's the reason I said I'm skeptic of both. And again,
remain a skeptic. That's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
So, can I? I'm sorry to cut you short, but I have to give the others an opportunity, and we just have 3 minutes left. Sorry, Chetandeep. Dilpreet Singh Ji, final concluding thoughts.
Anji, I think this is good if it is making us uncomfortable, because I think that was the objective of discussing these Shabad. I think with every Shabad, right, like Kabir Sahib says, Ganga ki lahar meri tutti janjeer mrigshala pe baithe Kabir. We have a story associated with that, which is not as per Gurbani. If you use the Gurbani lenses, it does not make sense. Baba Farid, Ye do naina macho. Again, we have pictures and stories. Namdev Shabad, that he gave rebirth to the cow. Again, these are anti-Gurmat stories, but we have associated them, and it is hard for us to let them go. And then, then just to conclude in one more line, if you wish, right? And then Gurbani also says, Jeha bije so lune, right? Karma sandra khet, so nobody else's others' wishes can either benefit our Pitri or even our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Viji Gurdeep Singh ji, last thoughts before we conclude.
Ganga ji, because she was expecting Guru Hargobind, and Guru Arjan Dev ji is stating all these things. Panvi Pashe. Pani ji was the mother of Guru Arjan Dev ji.
Hanji.
This was mostly related all the Shabad before the birth of Guru Hargobind or during that time when he was in the womb, when she was expecting Mother Ganga ji. So second thing, whole creature in this world follow the mother. Look at the birds, animals, anything. So mother is the first guru. All the blessing goes to the child from the mother heart. So that's why here it's addressed the Lord as a mother, because it doesn't matter the gender we already discussed, but it's effective to us to make us more effective. This is a mother's blessing. Mothers are more close, children close to the mother first. Even here in our this culture, nobody knows the father's name even. So we don't even write, nobody asks. So this is very well related, this Shabbat, the deep meaning. Once we do all this with love in this congregation, automatically, sponsorily, you will go to the farm which Gurji is talking. But if we start from that, we will be nowhere.
Hanji.
That
Thank you, ji.
farm will come automatically, but you have to put love into all these things.
Hanji.
Okay, ji, thank you.
Thank you very much, ji. Hanji Kulwant Kaur Bhen ji, 30 seconds.
Ji, I think it was really very interesting, and I also have to sit myself and dig deep, think
Hanji.
about it. Yes.
That's the idea for all of
Yes.
us. For all
Yes.
of us. That's the idea. Thank you, ji. Hanji Ranavir ji, last thoughts.
Ji, quickly, Ji, I think we got different perspectives on this, and that's great. And our debate has been healthy. But one thing what I feel is good that although after we talk about these things, either we spend more time, there needs to be a convergence, not the divergence after we talk. So that's the idea of sharing ideas from each other and learn from each other. By questioning that, you see, the whole hope is that we are not going to have the same perspectives, but there should be convergence. For that reason, I think there should be more discussion on these things that we are talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And unfortunately, I sit here with an eye on the clock. So I would love for this to go on and on, but you're absolutely right. I agree. And I think Ekungarji has said the same thing. I mean, we have just touched on these things and they require much more deconstruction. So, but with that, I want to thank everyone for a great conversation. And Harvinder is in charge of telling us what's coming next.
Hanji, Chetandeep with Lakh Khushiyan Paatshaiyan. Next week.
Okay, very well. Thank you very much, ji. Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa. Vaheguru ji ki
Vaheguru ji
Fateh.
ki Fateh.